slide. So I just wanted to share a little bit of an overview of what the agenda is going to look like today. And to first share that this session is really about you, the founders and the entrepreneurs that are joining us today. We're going to be sharing information about the program, and we're going to also give you the opportunity to meet a few of our incredible alums, so you can get a general feel for if the program is a good fit for you and get all of your questions answered. So as you can see on the agenda, we're going to start off with our founder fireside chat with Jana and Jen from the Tree Yoga Cooperative. We're going to then move into talking about the program, including sharing a little bit about PledgeLA and Grid110 teams, and then diving into the Founders Fund program, including eligibility requirements and what we're looking for in applicants, sharing a little bit about the program timeline, and then also sharing about the accelerator program with Grid110, as well as highlighting some of the application questions. So if that sounds good to everyone, I think we can go to the next slide. And we are going to kick it off with our founder fireside chat. So to introduce our amazing alumni, Jen and Jana, they are the co-founders and teacher owners of the Tree Yoga Cooperative, and they were a part of last year's Founders Fund cohorts. And they are going to share a little bit about their journey to opening their brick-and-mortar studio. So I will go ahead and pass it over to both of you.
All right. Well, thank you for inviting us back. And I'm just going to ask you all to bear with us as we're like being techie with presenting some stuff about ourselves. But my name is Jenny Alvarez, and I am one of the 4 co-founders of the Tree Yoga Cooperative. I'm also the Health Equity Partnerships Director, and I have my...
My name is Jana Johnson. I'm one of the other co-founders, and I'm the Director of Programming for the studio, and I'm also one of the leads for our yoga teacher training program.
So we will be going a little in and out of presenting a little bit of like photos as we talk with you all. But the Tree Yoga Cooperative is a Black and Latinx owned yoga studio and school here in South Central Los Angeles. And we provide beginner-friendly, accessible, trauma-informed, and culturally relevant yoga services, workshops, trainings here at our space. And we've been doing this for, oh my gosh, before we even became founders, cooperative. But I just wanted to show you who the rest of the team is. We have Donae Cole-Thomas, who is also one of our lead trainers of our 200-hour teacher training, also like our IT techie person that helps us with all having been virtual this whole time. And we have Rita Ortiz Contreras, who is also part of the co-owner with us, and she does a lot of our finances, a lot of our graphic design work. And so I just want to uplift all the beautiful faces of our cooperative. So let's go on to this. So actually, before I go into that, I do want to share like how we became the Tree Yoga Co-op. So in this picture here, this is back in 2020 before, you know, things closed down. So each of us had been teaching yoga in South LA for already like 6 to 8 years prior to this. And we all met at this nonprofit on Western and 83rd with different leadership roles, from like executive director, interim director, board president, volunteer teacher. And so when the beginning of COVID happened, this studio was closing down, and that's like the beginning of transitioning from a nonprofit organization to a worker-owned cooperative from teachers that are living in the community. And so that's where we all connected and came together to form our cooperative. So I'm going to hand it over to Jana to talk a little bit more.
All right. Hello, friends. So one of the things right now we'll get into our journey into opening our studio that we're in now, which we're here right now in our back room, because we actually have classes going on right now, a class. And so I just want to share some things about our journey along the way. So first of all, this picture is highlighting before we moved into our space, we were still doing the work, even though we did not have our own physical location. We were doing classes out in parks. We were leveraging a lot of our partnerships and people who have spaces, the Department of Health. This is the Department of Health here. We hosted one of our trainings here. And that was a big reason why we were able to kind of continue is because we were able to still do the work, even though we didn't have our space. So we were still able to generate revenue, stay engaged with our community. We, in addition to our trainings, we had classes at a park in Inglewood called Circle Park every weekend, twice a week. Saturdays and Sundays, we would have class there. And so just acknowledging that we were still able to see how we could continue the work that we're doing, leverage the partnerships that we had and relationships that we had built and continuing to build to still be able to operate. All right. And then before I get there, let me just stop sharing. Okay. So another piece to just highlight in terms of, it's okay. To just highlight in terms of our journey before getting the space. One thing to say is that the space that we were in before that Jen showed just a minute ago was definitely like our home base where we all worked in, but it was also clear that we were outgrowing that space. So we already were thinking of, okay, we need a space that's bigger to accommodate the work that we are doing and the work that we foresee ourselves doing moving forward as we continue to grow. So that space was one big room, right? And so we knew for one, we needed to like clarify, okay, what's the programming that we see in the space that we're going to get so that we can make sure that space would be adequate for it. So we knew we needed separate spaces like this room here we're in right now, so that we can have like private classes or private things in here that we can rent out these other rooms and spaces as well for other people doing work. And so just acknowledging like, what is it that the growth looks like for the space that we're going into, right? And then continuing to then start our search. So that was a big part, of course, of getting into the place we're in now. And I'll say, you know, we looked online, you know, Zillow or whatever those websites are, where you can just find different commercial spaces, but you know, and it's just a journey of going to see places and then being like, okay, does this meet the need that we want? Does this fit in our budget? Is this in the area and neighborhood that we want? That's a big part of our mission, is making sure that we are accessible to Black and Brown people and that we're close proximity. So South LA is where the old nonprofit was. So we wanted to stay in South LA. And so just as we were looking at different places, you just, even though those were no's, you know, it was still learning and still being able to clarify, okay, absolutely, this is a yes, this is a necessary, or, you know, this is not a necessary, this is a nice to have, a maybe, you know. So that process helped us to just clarify, right? There was one place that we found on Market Street, actually in Inglewood, that we liked a lot, right? And we thought that was gonna be the place. And through, you know, just conversations with the landlord and all those things, it was just like, okay, this is not the place. So just acknowledging that that's gonna happen on your journey. Like if you're a founder here who's looking for a place to be in, or if you're on that journey right now, or looking ahead to maybe that being in your future, just knowing that even when it's a no, like take that no as, this is a good thing. This means this is not the place for me and there's something else that's better for me, right? And also take the no as, okay, what did I learn though from this space that I can take into what will be my yes? Like the yes is gonna come. So there's no, you know, we didn't wanna sign a contract or do anything in a place that we didn't absolutely love. So giving ourselves that time and that grace to really align with what was right. So I will say how we then ended up getting into this place. I know for one, mentality, right? I personally, and all of us collectively, the four of us definitely had to like shift our mind around acknowledging like, we can afford a place that's right for us, right? Not only can we afford it, but we're gonna find a place that's adequate for the people that we serve, that's beautiful and spacious in a way that we know when people come in here, they're gonna love it and they're gonna wanna keep coming back. Right? So clear intention and then also clear mindset of like, just knowing it's possible. Cause there's definitely times where it was like, this ain't gonna happen, or, you know, just when times that you get discouraged and not staying in that for too long though, right? Letting yourself acknowledge it, feel it, and then know, well, you know what? we're not gonna like go backwards. So we have to learn something new in this process to be able to move forward. So once we did kind of like continue that search, I remember, yeah, finding this place just online, or I think hearing about we're at the Beehive. It's a Sola property if anyone's familiar with them, but hearing about them, looking it up online, seeing the stuff online and being like, yeah, this looks really good. And then when we actually came to check it out, it was like a definite, yeah, this is where we're going to be. Okay. So not even all of the details around it, but just like, this is the place. And so then after like falling in love with it, we're like, okay, now we have to do the nitty gritty work in terms of like negotiations and contracts and what's the rent going to be and what's all this other components of the logistics of renting a space, we're leasing this space. And our plan, our goal for sure, like we're in a 5-year lease here. By the end of that 5 years, we're going to be in a place that we own, right? So that clarity and knowing where we're moving, but having the space to just to operate now. So when we found the place, figured out negotiations, and honestly, and we can talk more about that if you have specific questions, but just being real within ourselves and also being honest in our negotiation. We did get a lawyer to help us. There's an organization called Public Counsel who does like free or pro bono, services. So just getting other eyes. We had, a leasing agent, other eyes, people who have done this before several times to just help us with their expertise. So that was something that was definitely important. And then I'll show this next slide here, just to show kind of the evolution of where we are now. Oh, I don't know what just happened. Sorry, hold on one sec. There we go. Okay, so just to show kind of the then and now. So the pictures on the left, again, is before we were in our studio space, out in the park and like doing stuff outside.
Pictures ourselves of ourselves.
Exactly. And then the middle picture up top, that's our grand opening, which I'll come back to about, because we were actually in the PledgeLA program when we were planning our grand opening. So that was a big help for that. And the other 3 photos this is us in our studio now, right? And being able to see and continue to maintain those relationships with our customers, with our students and all of that. And obviously gaining a lot more people who now know who we are now in this space. Has been able to, fill the studio space with mini programming and all of that. We have a partnership now with Nike, and that's one of our like now professional photo shoots, going from our like, just put up our own, or actually one of the our co-founders, Jay, the guy here, his daughter was our photographer, and she was like, doing our social media stuff for a little while, taking our pictures, right? But yeah, and that was great. And that's what we needed. And that's where we were at the time. And now just that the continued progression, evolution, and growth, being able to have more partnerships and continue to leverage that. So that's, a brief story of our journey getting into the space. I'll hand it back over to Jen here to just talk about how we've been able to also communicate or build relationships outside of our studio.
Yeah, so we definitely have lots of experience engaging folks who aren't able to physically come to our studio, like to really foster that, like, what does community look like outside of our studio doors or even like outside of South Central? And so in the past 2 years, whether it was us really looking at being hybrid, so we have in our teacher training program, COVID kind of put us in a position where we needed to be hybrid, and it actually put us on like an international platform where we were able to get international students and across the US having students. We've had, and then even students who found out about us and flew from Japan to South LA to come take our teacher training. So it's just been really amazing to see the quality of what we're offering and like the investment that people are willing to take to come take our training. And so that's just been the way that the language we use and the way that we talk about what we do and how intimate we are with what we do, that it's it feels authentic and you feel like you're getting things for face value and then willing to go through this transformative journey for yourself to experience what we speak about. And so we do a lot of tabling at events, which for us is huge because we're trying to get the word about what we're doing for these like ways to engage with us online, hybrid, or even just book us for employee wellness programs or staff wellness retreats, all kinds of things. We do this very unique idea that came out is that we support with the food distributions in our where people are coming, to get free groceries because of times have been tough. Groceries keep going up, and so we're literally doing yoga with people while they're waiting hours in line to get their food. So I think for us, it's like we're very non-traditional in the ways that we teach that. How can we make yoga accessible? And all the ways that we can think about like it not being physically available to you, or even the way that it's facilitated for people to be like, wow, I could be doing yoga when I'm waiting in line. It's like, yes, you can. And so we do that. We definitely have really leveraged what podcasts and interviews can do for us. Like people have like, oh, I heard you on this podcast. And I'm like, Jana, when did you do that podcast? And so it's good for us to just think about PR. Like we're not like professional PR marketing folks, but we've learned that we do know a lot, and we've learned what it could all entail. And definitely through the PledgeLA program, we learned about like all these different ways to leverage your name being spoken out there, people finding out about what we're doing. And so even when you have like an interview, it's like we're getting professional photographers that are doing things. Now we're not taking these photos ourselves with our iPhone. We have an actual professional photographer. And so it's like all these things that come out of that. And then our community partnerships really pushed us through during this time of COVID, where we were like constantly busy. Like we're doing virtual stuff and in-person stuff, outside stuff. And definitely that really helps us even with our grand opening, inviting all these community partners and getting them excited about all the opportunities they can continue with us at their site or even coming into our space. So yeah, we can go to the next photo because Grand Park definitely is one of our huge partners where we were able to help them plan a wellness event for their 10-year anniversary. And I'm just like, wow, you trust our business with this huge task. And it was a beautiful event, and the relationship continues to flow into now, like anytime there's an event, we're out there tabling, we're offering classes and trying to see other ways to really show what like equitable partnerships look like when a small business is trying to work with organizations and businesses that have a lot more resources to really like support the work equally. So that's been huge for us. And this journey, I do want to say, like in the past 2 years, it's been a journey of raising capital to be here, right? So we talked about just like, oh, we've stayed busy with work and then trying to see like how we price things so that we have revenue being saved, because to get into this lease, none of us had equity. We don't come from capital. We don't have this like generations within our family. We had to figure out how to do that. So from like doing a crowdfunding,
We did do that.
we were part of business competitions. We were part of Black Ambition. And so we have that like to talk a little bit later, but like we use all the money that we've done from these business competitions to show not only do we have like just enough to be able to move in, but also to tell our landlord like the opportunity that they have to have us as their tenants and really believe in what we're doing to show that we're not lucky to be here. Like this is like really like our community wants us, needs us, and we have this all of our community partners from city officials, like local reps, other businesses really pushing us forward, like yes, so I think definitely being very creative in what your partnerships look like outside of just what you do really help you like present and propose like what you bring to the table, and also present what you're doing as an opportunity. Whoever is wanting to work with you, Nike, this is an opportunity for you to work with us as well, right? So just really believing in all of that we've been doing, because regardless, like we're still going to keep doing it. When we opened the doors in June, we didn't have anything. It was just floors. All we had was floors, but we had yoga teachers, and that's all we needed. And now you look almost a year later, and there's plants everywhere. There's like cute cubbies. There's all these gifts. So it's just like it's amazing. So I hope you all can come visit and see the space. Go ahead, Jana. Do you want to go into this?
Yeah. So I just want to show this. So this is one of our trainings, and as Jen was mentioning about how we do hybrid offerings, and that's one big way that we're able to expand our community. This is just an example of that. When we were using a partner, this is at a KIPP elementary school or middle school, and just having the hybrid setup, making it work. This is the multi-purpose room, aka the lunchroom. And we hosted our 200-hour certification training there, you know what I mean? And being able to use the space before we got into here. And I just want to shout out, because as soon as we did come into the space that we're in now, and this was right around the time. So we moved into the space in June of last year, and we were in the PledgeLA program, Grid110 program, a little bit after we had moved in, because it was right around the time that we were planning for our grand opening. And I just want to highlight, being in this program really just helped us to clarify, what are we focusing on? How is what we're doing and focusing on align with our mission and our goals and our purpose? And being able to really think about that in a strategic way. And it was great that Jen and I got to do this together. So we're half of the team, but it was great that we were able to do it together, to be able to ideate together and vision to get all of that, right?
And implement it that next day or that next hour.
Absolutely, absolutely. And right after, so going from that training that I just showed you the picture of, when we moved in here, a couple months after that is when we did our first training in our space. So that was the first time where we were okay, this is our home now, and this is our first training here. And I just want to highlight, because I saw her on here, Selena Watkins is on this call, probably for her own, I know, for her own business, but she was in our first cohort who was in the studio space. And that was just such a special group of people and a special training, because again, it was our first time in our space as a cooperative. And we were able to have, I think it was 20 people in that group in our 200-hour certification training. That's a 3-month commitment of going deep into yourself, okay? So it's not easy work. It does take showing up and all of that stuff. And so that's one of our biggest pieces in our business is this training, because that's also a way that we're able to meet our mission, which is to expand the representation of BIPOC wellness leaders. And so through our training, people are getting the time, the space, the skills to be able to embody that within themselves, and to be able to, again, really do the deep work of sitting still with yourself, looking at yourself, listening to yourself, all of the self-work things, right? And then also being able to move through that, gain the skills to teach it and to share it with other people. So that's one of the big things I just wanted to highlight. And then also being part of this program, I will say, I know everyone here isn't in the program yet, but if you choose to do the program or you're in the program, one of the biggest benefits that we were able to have, one is one-on-ones with the Grid110 PledgeLA team, and being able to converse with them, pick their brains, learn from their expertise in terms of how operationally you might be able to shift some things in your business. And one thing that we really took from that and still do is something as simple as, but we just weren't there, customer surveys and listening to your students, listening to your customers, asking them questions that can provide information that can actually influence how we operate. So for example, one of the biggest things in our customer surveys is we ask students and ask customers what are the times of days that make it easy for you to come for a class? Or what are the times of days that make it hard for you? What are things in a teacher that you really like? Or what are things that you don't really like? What are some things that you love about when you come to the tree? What are some things you don't love? So just, it's so simple, but that feedback was invaluable information to be able, because we're thinking one thing, maybe classes should be, at this time and this time and this time. And then everyone's well, actually, this is the time that actually works well for me, or these times don't work well for me. So that's one thing that we started when we were in this cohort, and then we still do once a season, once a quarter, we are sending that out. And it also just made me personally, for sure, more inclined to simply ask questions when I see people here. So of course we're asking about their lives and regular casual conversation, but then asking these questions about their experience with us as a business face to face, and making that casual too, but for me, it's business, you know, and getting that information. So that's been another thing that was really helpful that we picked up on. And then the second piece that was so valuable from being in this program are accountability groups. So we were paired off, not paired because it was like 4 or 5 of us. We were put into groups of 4 or 5 other businesses. Being able to connect with other business owners and founders, especially because our accountability groups were in related fields and arenas, was so like just right on time, because some of the people who were in our accountability group had already been in a space. So they had insight that we were trying to figure out and try to learn, right? Some of the businesses were also in health and wellness. So again, we can share, we can collaborate, we can learn from each other. And it's also just good to gain friends who are on a similar path, you know, just like-minded people. So those were some things that really benefited us. Of course, the funding was right on time as well. We were already in the space, but you know, we got to still pay. Now we're in the space, we have more expenses. So that was obviously great support and right on time. Yeah. But again, the thing that continues to be a benefit is like these relationships that we were able to garner, and the insight from other people who were doing similar things.
Sorry, we could like literally do a whole presentation on our whole experience, and I don't want us to take up too much time. So we'll hand it back to you all to facilitate if there's any questions from the group. Hopefully we didn't go into the
First, I just want to say thank you to you both, because I feel you can feel the love and the passion in all of, you know, the entire experience, and just seeing your growth is like amazing through the pictures, but also just through your story. And so, yeah, just thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom with us. And yes, I think we have time for a few questions. If anyone wants to use the raise hand feature, and then we can ask a few questions. I don't see anything in the chat, so feel free to just raise your hand, come off mute.
And we'll have a Q&A about the whole program too, just in a little bit at the end too.
Yeah. Olivia, free to ask your question.
Olivia, you can go ahead.
Oh, hi. I had a question about, you had mentioned a service that you use to get legal assistance.
Sorry, we had.
Sorry, did you guys lose me?
Yeah, so we use Public Counsel. They're a nonprofit that you'll complete their intake survey, and they'll see if you meet like the requirements to get free consultation on whatever it is that you need, whether it's like commercial lease or I don't know what other legal fields they have, but it's pretty much a nonprofit that helps you cover, so you get pro bono services offered to you.
We use them mainly for our lease stuff, and we actually just reconnected with them again because we're making some addendums to our lease. So that's what we've been using them for.
Olivia, do you want to pop off mute and ask your question?
That was me that asked.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I had to figure out how to put my hand down.
Adriana.
So kind of, I'm seeing a question of, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you can go first if you like.
No, go ahead, Adriana. I was just seeing that there's a question in the chat, but we can answer it here too.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Adriana Cabrera. I am a community organizer in South Central LA, and just recently started an LLC called First Gen LA to provide support services for first generation professionals, graduates, a lot of people in our community. You know, we have a very low percentage of educational attainment, and those of us that go to college oftentimes have a hard time finding job opportunities, or even like need support on navigating different systems. And so I would like to ask, you know, as a first generation business owner and as a woman of color coming from an underserved community, what are some of the challenges that when you initially, had this thought, that you wanted to pursue, your business, what are some of the challenges that you came across initially when you started your journey?
I mean, it's interesting because the four of us, when we were working remote, we literally didn't really have overhead, right? Like it's just like everything, just Zoom subscriptions, like those little things here and there. So for us, it's interesting because for one person, right, one entrepreneur, we're four people that entered into some business marriage together that are like locked in. And so we each bring different areas of expertise to our business. So it made it feel really reassuring when like things that like my weaknesses and my strengths, like being able to name it, because as a first gen like entrepreneur, you feel like you're taking a lot of risk, right? You're like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to do this? Like, do I see anyone like me doing it, right? And so that was just more of the thing, like being able to like in this PledgeLA program, and even in your city, like there's a lot of like free resources out there. So just being able to like name what is it that I don't know, or finding out what you don't know, and then finding those answers that help you get started. Because I know a lot of us get tired of building up other people's visions and their passion. So like, when am I going to invest that same energy and time into my own vision and my passion? And so I think a lot of us start off differently, like whether like you're going to go all in on yourself, working full time on your vision and passion, or you keep your 9 to 5 and you're working on your passion, like on those after hours. We're all in different paths. We all have different resources around us, whether your partner is able to support you, your family is able to support you while you figure these things out. But I would just say like having a time frame for yourself, as far as like how much time am I going to stay at this day job, or how much time do I commit to this vision, and like really be on it. It's time management and also like we've been able to really just support each other, because all of us, it's our first time doing it, and we all brought different expertise to being able to figure it out. And it's actually amazing to find out what you do know, and then how much you learn along the way, and to not be necessarily like afraid to share what you know, because capitalism tells us that we're in competition with each other. And I think we need to really show that like each of us are doing it our own way, and the right people that are your customers are going to come to you because they see uniquely what you're offering too. So as like BIPOC people, as entrepreneurs, like we have to do it for ourselves, and just like really like get past that imposter syndrome that we can't do it. And so I know these are very normal conversations that happen in PledgeLA about like BIPOC entrepreneurs, like, and like the things that we deal with and what we face in trying to start out. And so I think those are very honest and real conversations to have, because we don't get easy access to capital like other like white counterparts that just have a cool idea and then money just gets sent their way,
Thank you for that answer. I want to be mindful of time, so we are going to have to transition into the program overview section. But if folks have any other questions for you both, where can they reach you? Where's the best place that they can reach you?
I will put it in the chat for you all to either email us, follow us, etc. I know PledgeLA does a great time of bringing alumni back in, so maybe we'll come to some mixer. Of that
Right.
Yes, of course. Well, thank you so much both for your time and for just sharing your journey with us. And yeah, feel free to reach out to them with any questions. Okay, so now we are going to transition to our next slide. And so you heard a little bit about Tree Yoga Cooperative. So now we're going to introduce ourselves and the work that we do. So let's jump into introductions. So as I shared earlier in the session, my name is Lilia Jimenez. I'm the program coordinator for PledgeLA, and I am joined today by Calvin. Calvin, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Calvin Sell. I'm program manager of Annenberg Tech at the Annenberg Foundation. Yeah, I work with Lilia on the PledgeLA team. And the third person, Santiago, our intern, could not be here today because he is going back visiting his family, but he is also a wonderful part of our team.
Amazing. Okay, so then I can pass it over to Mickey to introduce the group.
Thanks, Lilia. Hi, everybody. I'm Mickey Reynolds. I am one of the co-founders for Grid110. We are the accelerator partner for the PledgeLA Founders Fund. We have a couple additional members of our team here also that I'll let them introduce themselves. Ali, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Alvarez. I'm our operations manager. So nice to see so many new and familiar faces on this call. I will pass it over to Maya.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maya. I'm the marketing lead here at Grid110, working on all things marketing, community, connecting our amazing community of founders. Thank you all for being here today. It's so great to meet you. And I'll pass it to Michelle.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle. I also go by Elle. I am the event associate here at Grid110, also working community events, bringing people together. Super excited for you guys. I'm also an alum for the program. I love the Grid110 team so much. They're so close to my heart, and I just can't wait for you guys to experience it for yourself.
Thank you. So now we can share a little bit about the work that we actually do. So to share a little bit about PledgeLA, we're a group of more than 210 LA-based venture capital firms and tech companies that are collectively working to advance equity, diversity, and inclusion. And the Founders Fund program is one of the core programs that we lead. And you can see on this slide the other programs that we organize, including our tech mentorship program, which is for first-generation college students and recent grads, our VC internship for underrepresented folks looking to break into the venture capital sector, and our venture data report, which is our annual report that tracks diversity, equity, and inclusion in the LA tech and VC ecosystem. And we are extremely lucky and blessed to have Grid110 as a partner for the PledgeLA Founders Fund, and they support with the technical assistance portion of the program, which they will be sharing a little bit more about later on in the session. And the goal of the PledgeLA Founders Fund program is to support Black and Latinx founders with strengthening their businesses, creating jobs, and building generational wealth. So now I will pass it over to Mickey to share a little bit about Grid110.
We are equally excited to be partnering up with PledgeLA on the Founders Fund for the third year in a row. So in terms of who we are and what we do, Grid110 is a business accelerator and community providing no cost, no equity programs for entrepreneurs in Los Angeles. We've supported 270 companies, with 70% being led by women and 77% being founders of color. When we talk about our organization, we feel like it's incredibly important to lead with our mission. It's our why, it's our North Star, and we hope that it resonates with everybody here. Our mission is to foster the most thriving, inviting, and inclusive community for entrepreneurs in Los Angeles. We believe that anyone with the goal of becoming an entrepreneur should have the chance to pursue it and to receive support along the way. Our work often impacts individuals who are overlooked by traditional entrepreneurial ecosystems, and that's what drives us to make the entrepreneurial path more equitable, inclusive, and accessible. Next, I want to cover three kind of primary key pillars for our program. So all our programs are cohort-based. You'll be going through it with several other companies who will quickly become not just your peers, but your biggest champions, supporters, and friends. Community is one of our key values, and you will feel it from the moment that the programs begin. We've run 24 cohorts over the last 7 years, including the 2 previous PledgeLA programs. So I think you can be pretty confident in our ability to do this right. We encourage you to always be learning. So regardless of if this is your first business or your fourth business, you'll have the opportunity to learn from industry experts, seasoned entrepreneurs, our team, and maybe more importantly, each other. And finally, we're a nonprofit. This program and the funding that comes with it is available to you at no cost, no equity taken. We are truly invested in the success of your business and how the community at large will benefit from it. Back over to you, Calvin.
Thank you so much, Mickey. So yeah, as Lilia said, this program is about addressing the massive gap in capital that Black, Latinx, and especially women founders face in Los Angeles. She mentioned that venture data report. So the reason we launched this program was really to respond more deeply to that gap. We had founders saying, mentorship and technical assistance is great, but funding is also very crucial, particularly for those folks who don't have access to wealth or who are working full-time, whatever that looks like. So that's why we built this program. And yeah, we have support from foundations, foundations, corporations, and many other partners. But let me jump into eligibility because this next slide is really important. Anticipate you may have some questions about this. So really, let's all hone in together on who is eligible to apply for this program. We get a lot of questions about this. So this program is open only to for-profit businesses because of the design and the goals of the program and the kind of technical assistance we provide. We cannot accept, unfortunately, for this application, for this program, applications from nonprofits. You can be a B corporation or a corporation, with a social mission, but you do need to be a for-profit business. Another important thing to know, we are industry agnostic. It's a fancy way of saying we do not care what specific sector you are in. You can be a software company, you can be a yoga studio, you can be a coffee shop, but we are looking for innovation. So how are you different? How is what you're doing, offering, serving, selling, showing up, innovative, different, new, but that it's not just hard science tech. You don't have to be only software, but we welcome applicants from the tech sector, traditional tech, from brick and mortar stores. We are industry agnostic. Also, you should be having some sense of how you want to grow. How beyond just needing the funding, are you going to use this whole program in the network to take your business to the next level? And why do you need that now? So we're going to ask you about that. Businesses also must be located in LA County. So the founder may reside elsewhere, but the business needs to be located in the county of Los Angeles, not the city, but the county. This has to do with where our funding comes from LA-based foundations that are trying to make sure the impact's happening back here. Also, Black and Latinx founders, how do we define that? At least one founder or co-founder, not a senior staff member, should identify as Black or Latinx. This is because we want that person to have ownership of the business and get back to the generational wealth piece we talked about. Also, to make sure this is going to companies that, where the 25K, even though that's not $1 million, we wish we could give companies even more. We want to make sure it's going to be not just a drop in the bucket, and that it's hitting the company at the right time. So that's why companies should have raised less than $250,000 from any external source prior to applying. You can have more than $250,000 in your own revenue. You just should not have raised that or had a ton of other grants or things like that pushing you past $250K. So that's why we asked about that. So that's the core eligibility. Well, plenty of time to answer questions in chat and on voice about that. But the most successful applicants beyond that, they are the ones that show a real strong team, how they work and operate together. They got a real clear sense of their product or service and the market they're trying to serve, and traction. So what is traction? External validation of your business, being successful, that people want it. That could be social media follows. It does not have to be revenue. Very important. What data do you have? Did you put out a survey from your community and they're saying they want your business? Did you have a social media campaign that blew up? Things like that. We're just looking for some external validation of your idea and that evidence you can share with us, whatever it looks like. And because of those funders, we are looking for businesses that can create some kind of community impact. No cookie cutter way, but that can be jobs locally, where you source your vendors or supply, how you show up. You heard Tree Yoga mention a lot of intentional community impact. So, we're looking for however that is true for your business. And it doesn't have to be the main thing that your business does, but it's, we are looking for that to be a part of how you operate. And I see in the chat, 250K in what timeline? That should be prior to when you apply. So although we, in the spirit, intend that, it's really for folks that have had less than 250K. If you get a grant, that pushes you over that after you've applied or, in the program, that's fine. But at the point of application, you should not have more than 250,000 in external sources. All right, so I will pass it over next to Ali to tell you about the program timeline.
Thanks, Calvin. Yes, so let's talk about some important dates to be mindful of and what to expect in the many months to come. So applications are now open and will be open until June 11th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is underlined because it is a hard cutoff, and make sure you submit prior to that deadline so that you can make sure your application is in. So after the application closes, our team will be thoroughly reviewing applications throughout June and July and conduct interviews over the month of July before we finalize the cohort in the middle of August. The program itself will kick off at the end of August, starting the week of August 28th, and wrap up towards the end of November. Additionally, you'll see that the $25,000 will be dispersed to selected founders in 2 installments in October and November. And of course, there'll be more details on that as it gets closer. But we will also have other events, both virtual and in person, sprinkled throughout the summer and fall. So we'll send more details for that as it gets closer, but opportunities to come together as a cohort as well. So just a couple of dates to keep in mind as you think about applying and what to expect from here. I will hand it over to Mickey.
Thanks, Allie. So once you make it through all of that, you are accepted into the program and you get to spend the next 12 weeks with us. This program is truly an opportunity for you to think more strategically about your business, as you heard from Jana and Jen. As entrepreneurs, you're so often wearing so many hats, doing all the work in the weeds of your business that you don't really have an opportunity to step back. And these 3 months are really a chance for you to work on your business, not just in your business. The program meets virtually via Zoom and will kick off the week of August 28th. And it will meet just like this in sessions for 2-hour sessions. These are sessions that are interactive workshops, skill building sessions, small group breakouts, and incredible guest speakers. This program is really designed to allow you to focus on running the day-to-day operations of your business while layering in key support where it's needed. Outside of the weekly sessions, you have the opportunity to book one-on-one advising hours, different members of our team, just as Jana and Jen mentioned, and to dive in deeper into topics to discuss specific challenges that you might be facing or try and figure out kind of solutions for what's most pressing for you. In addition, you'll be paired into accountability groups, which was also mentioned, with 3 or 4 other companies to meet weekly and really get to know intimately over the 12 weeks. We have found this to be incredibly incremental and integral into our community building process, and also an opportunity to offer and receive peer mentorship. Finally, being selected into our program welcomes you into the larger Grid110 and PledgeLA communities. We have over 400 founders in our community Slack channel that you have immediate access to, along with optional community events and a perks package and service discounts and credits valued over $70,000. I will let Calvin share a little bit more about how PledgeLA will support you.
Thank you, Mickey. So yeah, one of the ways we'll support you is funding. And the most important part about this program is it's non-dilutive funding. What does that mean? That's a fancy way of saying there's no equity or ownership or strings attached to it. It is not a loan. It is not technically a grant. It is a stipend that you receive as part of the program. So part of our work as PledgeLA is from LA Philanthropy and other corporations. Every year we raise that $500,000 as charitable dollars in an annual campaign, and then we disperse it to 20 companies, up to 20 companies that receive $25,000 each. But we really intend that the funding, even these great support group, that's only the beginning. We know 12 weeks might be time to improve some things about your business, but you're going to need a lot more support and time to hit some big rocks and be working on it, because it's your business. So we really like to remain connected. That's why our cohorts are not 50 or 100 people. We like to hold those relationships and then support you with your follow-on capital, whether it's trying to get other banking loans, you're trying to get investment, you're trying to qualify for other kinds of patient capital or grant opportunities. We want to be your reference and track your success after the program. That's how we know if it's effective or not. That's we're really serious about that. So we track the impact of jobs created, how much our alumni have raised. Just in case you're curious, our alumni from the last 2 years have raised more than 20 million in follow-on funding. So not all the same amount, but some significant amounts of funding. And we see pretty consistently that alumni are able to access other grants and programs like this because it's a pretty good signal if you were selected to this. Yes, and also, if there's anyone in the LA tech or VC community you want to get connected to, we love to hook it up. We want to be your connector and open access for you. So you can ask some of our alumni. When they ask us, we answer and follow up with that. And as Mickey said too, the Grid110 community is a great resource. If you're like, does anyone know this weird vendor? You're going to get 6 replies and have probably someone with a discount in like 20 minutes. That you're going to get replied to. So wonderful. But that's some of the ways PledgeLA supports. Yeah, and I'll pass it over now to Allie to tell you more about the application itself.
Yes, thanks, Calvin. So for those of you who haven't checked out the application just yet, you'll see that we capture information about your founding team, as well as some of your company details to get a sense of where you've been, where you're currently at, and where you're going with the business. So you'll see towards the end of the application that there is a series of short answer questions, some of which are highlighted here. For all of the short answer questions, we ask that you limit your response to 500 characters or less, just to be succinct and really focus your answers, and recommend that you work on your responses on a separate document, as the application does not save as you go. So that way you can just make sure to kind of organize your thoughts prior and then copy and paste or carry them over when you're ready to submit, just so they fit the character limits and you don't get anything lost along the way. So some of the short answer questions will include the first of which, tell us more about your company's traction to date. So Mickey and Calvin have already emphasized this a bit already, but we want to know more about the work you've done on your business to date. So we know that traction doesn't look the same business to business, but this is where you can share any growth you've experienced, from customer or user growth to any external funding raise, pitch prizes or competitions you've won, if you're generating revenue, any recent growth around that. This could also include things like recent newsletter or mailing list growth, social media growth, partnerships you have developed or are developing. So this is really designed to give us a better sense of the work you've done to date and be pretty open to how that applies to you and your business. So next we have, why are you interested in participating in the program and how it will help you achieve your upcoming goals in the next 3 to 6 months. So really emphasizing, why and what you're going to get from the program itself, followed by how you'll use the funding to take your business to the next level. These are kind of separated so that we can get both your answer from the funding perspective, but also the program perspective as well. And really just want to give you enough space to share what your upcoming goals and how this will allow your business to grow and move forward. Next, we have, Mickey and Calvin have mentioned, but just want to double down on the community element and how important it is to us. We ask how you currently engage with your community. We also ask in the video prompt to follow about community as well. So that's super important. And we just want to know more about your current community engagement efforts and what that looks like. Again, this could look like a lot of different things, so make that personal to you and your business. Lastly, I want to highlight the 5 interesting facts about yourself or your founding team that someone wouldn't gauge from your LinkedIn or resume. This is a great way for us to get to know you as a founder outside of your business. So feel free to get creative with what you share with us, and give us a bit of personality as to who you are outside of your business. So we can go to the next slide here. Perfect. So next, after the short answers, we have a short answer questions. We have a required video that we ask you to answer these 3 prompts in under 2 minutes. So this does not need to be anything fancy with lots of production or polished editing. This can really just be recorded on your phone or a laptop, computer. We do ask that this is an original video and not a promotional or marketing video that you've previously created and are just submitting here. So also please be sure to test out the link prior to submitting, just to make sure that it works. Maybe send it to a friend or someone else in your business, just to make sure we can have access to it via the link that you submit. And in the application, we have a few suggested platforms for where to host that video if you need any support with that. The rest of the attachments are completely optional, but if you have a pitch deck or company presentation that you want to upload, please do. Any supporting documents that you think would be helpful for us to see in considering your application. This can look like a lot of different things. We've seen someone submit a really goal by goal, month by month to-do list to show their upcoming kind of growth and plans for growth. We've seen people submit a brand deck or mock-ups of upcoming products, all kinds of things in terms of supplemental documents, but whatever you think would be helpful in considering you and your business. And then, yeah, I think that's the bulk of what we want to highlight in the application. All in all, there are many opportunities here to highlight all the work that you've done, your unique team, and all that you're looking ahead to building. So really put your best foot forward here. And yeah, this is a great opportunity for you to shine and really just show us all the incredible work that you've been doing in the application. So Again, just wanted to reiterate, because of the volume of applications we receive, we won't be able to accept any revisions or edits to the application once submitted. So definitely suggest just preparing all of those materials beforehand and submitting once you have everything good to go from there. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to make sure to emphasize here. I will pass it back to Calvin.
Thank you so much. And I know we are getting close to time, so I just want to tell folks who are on the call, we are going to hang out for a couple minutes, about 5-10 minutes to answer your questions. So we're not going to just hang up. So if you have them, you can drop them in the chat or answer. So I'll just be super brief. We've supported 35 companies through this process. If you'd like to read more about the impact, you can check that out on the program website if you haven't already. But yeah, we'll also be sharing the recording from this. So let's just jump right into Q&A. So we can go ahead and take off the screen share, please, and come back to gallery view. And you're welcome to drop them either in the chat or raise your hand. And yeah, I'll pass it over to Lilia to manage our Q&A.
Does anyone have any questions that they want to raise their hand for? Or Maya, I wonder if there's anything that we want to bump up in the chat, maybe? If not, I think we can start with Dominique.
Greetings, everyone. Just wanted to ask if the short responses, it says 500 characters. That's 500 characters per response, correct? Okay.
I believe so. I don't know, Ali, if you have any. Yeah.
Yep, per response. Yeah.
And do check the character count. Every year we see the most important part of my business is, so it gets cut off.
Okay, awesome. Marley, I see that you have a question.
Hi, hello everyone. I asked in the chat, but for the time commitment, is it really just the one meeting a week? Or I just was curious, like how many hours, if accepted, will we have to allot for the program?
That's a great question. I wonder, Mickey, if you can answer that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would anticipate kind of carving out approximately 4 to 6 hours a week. So there's the 2-hour weekly session. You'll probably meet separately with your accountability group, which is that 3 to 4 company accountability group. You'll find time that works for your own schedules for an hour. Then you have optional office hours that you can book with anybody on our team. But we always say that the more that you put into this, the more that you're obviously going to benefit and get out of it. There could be other optional events, but at a minimum, I think we anticipate just trying to set aside 4 to 6 hours a week for the 12-week commitment.
Awesome. Are there any other questions? I'm looking.
There's some in the chat that people to answer.
Okay, perfect. Let me see. Why don't we go with China, if you want to ask your question?
Hi, everyone. I was wondering if there are specific reporting requirements for the funding.
I can take that one. So yeah, we ask you a couple of things about the funding. The answer I think hopefully is a good one, which is when you actually receive the funding, you complete a stipend agreement with our fiscal sponsor, the Acevedo Foundation. You have a brief but non-itemized description about how you intend to use the funds, and we don't have a specific opinion about how you use the funds. That's up to you to decide. As part of your application, you share it, but you will generally describe, we intend to use the funds for purchasing a new vehicle for our business for X, Y, whatever that is. And then, so then after that, we don't have a process to come back and check your receipts or anything if that's a specific question. We do ask you though about the impact on your business after the program, PledgeLA and Grid110, about hiring, about other funding you've raised, about your revenue, and that's part of our impact report. And that typically we do, several months or following the conclusion of the program, but it's not directly related to receiving the funding. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
No problem.
And I see a question in the chat from programs, federal or states, such as commitment for full-time employment as opposed to workforce training and certification milestones.
Okay, now question around provision, and Kevin, feel free to come up mute to share that. Are you asking around the time commitments for the program? Do we offer a flexible format for folks who are participating in those things, or?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could be stackable in terms of taking your funding, existing funding from federal, state, county, and local and put those into your proposal as potential brownie points for showing how you're being able to find not only funding, but partners. And will that be, as a provision, something that gains more points?
Well, if you have received some past funding or partnerships of any kind, you could reference that in the traction question, for example, of some previous validation of your business. The other way to think about that might be if you have, and I saw some questions around what exactly again is the 250,000 rule. You should not have raised that from an external source. So, and the reason just to be a little clear about that, and no judgment, but there are some folks that are companies that are very good at collecting, are being involved in accelerators, and they maybe are needing funding. And we want to focus this on companies that need the funding and the community and the support, and who maybe this is their first time receiving an opportunity like this, not someone who's had 10 or 12, and it's really not a great fit for someone who is in another accelerator right now and not really having time to have the meetings. We're really going to ask for the time to help you work on and improve your business. But the 250K, again, it's not revenue. You can have more than that, your own sales and revenue, just external dollars that you've raised.
Awesome. And then I see a question from Dora in the chat about the funding. If the money raises for what timeline? I believe we already answered that question. If you want to come off mute though, and if you have anything else to add, feel free to. But it's
prior to applying, prior to applying.
Yes.
So if you raise 251,000 the next day, you were still eligible if you applied. Cool.
And then one last question: do EIDL loans count as money raised?
EIDL loans.
Dora, can you expand on what that acronym stands for?
Yeah, maybe Dora actually send us an email, please. And so I just want to give you I want to look up that loan and give you a specific answer around that, just to make sure we're answering correctly.
It was the government loan that there was PPP, and which was a grant, and then there were EIDL loans, emergency something.
Yeah. Just so we can check for your specific business context, let me put our email in here too. And if you wouldn't mind, it would really be if you had more than 250,000 or that amount, that would be a question in our regard of us looking at that. But yeah, we would probably view that as some source of funding you've received, prior to applying. Yeah.
Well, I'm just wondering, because if I add the EIDL loan, that raises my total that we've received
above 250.
Well, I don't even know that yet.
Yeah, that's why I said just because it's your personal business, maybe just send us an email. I want to take time to give you a thoughtful answer about it. But I'll drop that email in a chat right now, and then we can we'll answer that.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
And I see a question from Adriana. Would newly formed businesses be eligible? Is there a time frame that the business has to be operating? We do not have a specific time frame that the business has to be operating, as long as you meet the other eligibility requirements. And if you're a business that is a month old, maybe you haven't exactly been able to show your growth or traction. So maybe this program wouldn't be a great fit for you now, but in a few years that could be a possibility. So just kind of think about the other eligibility requirements when you are assessing if you are ready to apply to the program and answer those questions. Awesome.
I have MJ's hand raised. You want to take his question?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, MJ, if you want to come off mute.
Yeah, bless y'all. Quick question around the timing. It asks around funding as it relates to our upcoming goals over the next 3 to 6 months. Is that from the application or from when the funding would be delivered in that November, October timeline?
Mickey, do you want to go ahead and answer that question?
I'm sorry, what was the question in particular that you were asking about, the timeline around?
The 3 to 6 months, next 3 to 6 months.
I think maybe you can identify if the next 3 to 6 months are going to look different than the kind of adjusted 3 to 6 months when the program would start. So if there are immediate goals and focuses that you are looking to focus on for the next 3 to 6 months. But maybe if during the program, you have other things that you're interested in, feel free to include as well. Allie, do you have any additional thoughts around that?
No, I would agree with that. I think, there's plenty of opportunities to kind of talk about looking ahead as well. So you can definitely add additional context there. But I think that makes sense.
Amazing. I think we have time for one more question. I don't think that I see anything in the chat.
Lilia, it might be helpful to kind of double click on the founder business based in LA County? Because I've seen a couple of questions around that if a business is incorporated somewhere else, but the founders are based here. So maybe just providing some additional.
Yeah, of course. Calvin, do you want to expand upon that?
Yeah, we know that this can sometimes be confusing, but you should be able to describe, business activities or operations here in LA County and how your business, operates in LA. We have had applicants who I think for tax reasons have had, like an out-of-state headquarter, but they are clearly operating and happening here in LA. So there are other ways that we look at that beyond just that in the question, but your business should be based in Los Angeles County. Again, if you have questions because of your business specific situation, you can ask us and write exactly what your setup is, and we can let you know around that before you take the time to apply. If you want to send us a specific question, we can ask about that. Cool.
Awesome. Okay. We want to be mindful of everyone's